Hello guys, Overbidden here. Today is March the 4th, 2026. We are about 70% into set 16 of Teamfight Tactic, and I just reached Grandmaster, which is also the rank 711 in NA, and after 989 games. And this isn't even the first time I hit Grandmaster this set, as you can see. And after hitting Masters on December the 23rd, 2025, I've hit Grandmaster twice, and for about 10 days total. But since then, I've been hovering between Masters and the cutoff of GM for almost 3 months. And it's been quite a grind. In this video, I want to talk about what this journey actually taught me in 5 parts. Part 1 is playing versus studying. I started this set in the December the 4th, and 989 games in 90 days, that's about 11 games per day. Honestly, that's probably too many games. If someone wants to improve efficiently, the ideal balance is probably something like 50% studying and 50% playing. Reviewing VODs, analyzing mistakes, studying patch notes and stats, and that takes time. At about 11 games per day, there isn't enough room for that. So there's definitely enough room for improvement in how I structure my learning. But regardless, here we are. Part 2 is peak versus consistency. And here's the biggest lesson from this grind. Consistency matters more than peak. TFT is constantly evolving, and every patch shifts tempo, changes comps, adjusts systems, and sometimes the patch is huge, sometimes it's minor, but adaptation never stops. In every set, there are moments where someone finds a hidden comp or exploits a knowledge gap that can spike LP quickly. But the LP gained through a knowledge gap doesn't last. Once the comp becomes known and the lobby adjusts, the spike disappears. Earlier in the set, I didn't feel stable enough to talk about my rank. I feel like I was benefiting from gaps, and but now the LP feels different. It feels like execution, it feels like fundamentals, and it feels repeatable. Part 3 of what I learned is the 2 ways to climb. And if you look at the placement distribution, let's look at a different website. And from 1st through 8th, the long-term climbing depends on the average. If the average is below 4.5, I climb. And there are 2 ways to get there. The first is through having a high variance, lots of 1st and 2nds, but also a decent number of 7th and 8th. I take risk, right? I play for the 1st. Sometimes I spike, but sometimes I crash. The second way, which is the way I've been playing, is by having a low variance, having very few 7th and 8th, even very few 6th, but a lot of 2nd through 5th. So this style isn't about chasing 1st every game, it's about protecting LP first and optimizing on top of that. And some people may argue that if you can't consistently get 1st, you're not improving. But in a lobby of similarly skilled players, getting 1st almost always requires some level of high roll. The real skill, in my opinion, is conversion. Turning an 8th into a 6th, turning a 6th into a top 4, and turning a 3rd into a 2nd or even a 1st. And that is sustainable climbing. Part 4 of what I learned is consistency beyond the game. Consistency isn't just about placements, it's about habits. 989 games in 90 days, 11 games per day, and yet I still need to sleep, work out, spend time with family, have a functional life, or have a somewhat functional life outside of TFT, etc. So the real question is, how? If I'm investing this much time into something, I can't just spam games randomly. I have to structure it. So how do I study? How do I queue? How long do I play? When do I stop? How do I rest? When and how do I spend time to take care of other things? Without structure, the whole thing becomes addiction. With structure, it becomes growth. And honestly, part of the reason I'm doing this grind isn't just to game LP, it's to refine my process, it's to make it efficient, it's to make it clean, it's to extract everything possible from this process. And through this grind, I've learned about focus, emotional control, tolerance for variance, and the discipline. I'm still in that process. I can't fully articulate it yet, and that will probably be in a future video, but this isn't just about LP anymore. It's about building a system. So that goes to part 5. What is next? Right now, my consistent peak has been the bottom of Grandmaster, around rank 750. So the next logical step, make Grandmaster my floor, not my peak. If I can stabilize it here, make that my average instead of my spike, then the next level becomes realistic. So for context, the Masters in NA is at about 1% for 10,000 players. Grandmaster is roughly at about top 750, around top 0.1%. And if I can consistently hold around top 300, I start entering into the semi-pro territory. And that is the benchmark. Will I get there? I don't know. But that is the direction. This set wasn't about chasing, flashing first places. It's about building consistency. It's about building discipline. And building a foundation. The rank is the visible result, and the habit is the invisible foundation. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next climb.